Kai here with Kaitaku, and I am so happy to bring my March reading wrap up to you all. March was interesting because it was a ton of digital works. So like now that we've started doing our monthly wrap up spreads, I've got my spread here, less books than we read last month in February, but a ton of digital works. So let's do the digital works first, and then we'll get into the physical copies that I read. So first up, I read these Snow White notes. These Snow White notes I got as a art on Netgalley from the publisher. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a story of a young man whose grandfather has recently died, and so he's kind of lost the music now that his grandfather's died, and he is going on a journey to try and find his sound and try and find the music. And he leaves his provincial town and goes to Tokyo, so now he's in the big city. And so I am enjoying it. I think this first volume was a really good build up to the story, setting the foundation. And so I'm interested to see, with the friends that he's now met in Tokyo and now starting a new school, how this is going to turn out and how this is going to affect his sound. So another Netgalley e-arc that I got was She's My Knight Volume 1. She's My Knight Volume 1 was absolutely adorable. Like, this is our, which should in theory turn into friends to lovers trope, where we've got our guy who is hopelessly in love with our heroine, but we're now reached that part of high school where she is taller than him, and it's such a cute dynamic, and she's so valiant, and like, you know, all the girls have crushes on her because she's basically like a knight all on her own. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying trying to see him like convince her like, oh, like I can do manly things too, and try to make her see him as more than just a friend. The last e-galley arc that I got, it was Dawn of the Witch. So Dawn of the Witch was okay. It wasn't the best thing in the entire world, and it has room to get much, much better. So I think I'll continue maybe next volume and see how I feel next volume. But the fan service was obnoxious. Like, it was utterly obnoxious. We've got our teacher who looks like she's 12, but of course she's like hundreds of years old, and we're constantly seeing her panties, and I just don't see the point. So the fan service was really obnoxious. Now, of course, we've got one of the other characters has giant boobs, and so the fan service really, really detracted from maybe the first 60% of the volume, and then after that, it actually kind of got serious, and I was like, okay, I can see some story, I can see some plot, I can see where this is going. It may turn out okay. So I think it's one of those series that I will try another volume to see if I like it, but I don't know if I'm really just like gung-ho about this series. The next one that I read digitally was Murder on Black Swan Lake. Murder on Black Swan Lake is a historical murder mystery. I thoroughly enjoy historical works. I am a huge, huge fan of like historical romances. So a historical murder mystery was right up my alley. And this is a series. It is a Sloane and Wexford mystery series. And so I think I bought the first 5 books. And I'm excited to see how it goes because we've got a really slow burn romance going on. And I can't wait to see how that turns out. I also picked up Elegant Yokai Apartment Elegant Yokai Apartment Volume 1. So Elegant Yokai Apartment Volume 1, I wasn't sure what to expect. I kind of just picked it up because I was looking for something to read, and I think it was the first volume was on sale. And so I ended up picking it up and enjoying it. I do want to continue reading it, but it is like 12 or 13 volumes are already out. So I'm trying to decide where I'm going to put that on my list because I do believe it's digital only, and I do love reading manga digitally. It does not bother me what form it is in. I am here to consume the manga. So I enjoyed watching him like move into this apartment, starting to learn that like everybody in the apartment, there's like yokai or witches or hunters and things of that nature, shaman, and seeing these dynamics. And the first volume kind of left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and so I want volume 2. After Elegant Yokai Apartment, I read Boss Wife Volume 1. Boss Wife Volume 1 is absolutely adorable to me. So I know we're dealing with the Yakuza and there's some violence in there, but we've got our girl, she's in debt, she needs saving, her father has put them in so much debt, and then he has run off. And so she ends up meeting her old classmate, and old classmate got money. And he's like, look, if you will marry me, I will pay off all your debts. And she's like, oh, I don't know about that. But of course they are after her. The mob is after her, and she comes to find out, boom, classmate's part of the Yakuza. Go figure. So this is another one of those fake relationships that I hope is going to turn into a real relationship, because I love their dynamic. I mean, there's already some smut in Volume 1, so I think we're headed towards fake relationship to real relationship. But I liked Volume 1, so I'm definitely going to be keeping up with this series. So I also read Moon Called. So Moon Called is a paranormal series, and one of my friends here, she recommended it to me. So this is the Mercy Thompson series. There are a ton already out, and then there's also the Alpha and Omega series, which is kind of companion series set in the same world with the same characters. So I read Moon Called, thoroughly enjoyed it. Mercy Thompson is like who I want to be when I grow up. She is this badass, doesn't take anybody's noise, and she's a coyote, so she shapeshifts into a coyote, and the werewolves are around, and she's not the werewolves aren't giving her any problems, because she's here to take on the fight. So loved it, but of course she's also got her sad side. She's got a little bit of trauma from her childhood. You can't just be out here being a healthy character. There's got to be trauma we got to get through. So I liked it. I enjoyed the mystery kind of with their trying to figure out what's going on with these werewolves, because we have someone who has she got a werewolf who showed up on her doorstep. They end up killing him, whole bunch of stuff, and we got to figure out what's going on and why. So thoroughly enjoyed that. After Moon Call, I read Alpha and Omega. So Alpha and Omega is actually a novella. It is a novella set in the Alpha and Omega universe, which is a parallel, like I said, to the Mercy Thompson series. So they're all set in the same timeline, same universe, just focusing on different sets of characters. And so this is the novella where we get to meet Anna, who is our Omega werewolf, and we get to meet Charles, and we're kind of introduced to the Alpha and Omega side world. And so I really enjoyed this novella. It really made me kind of feel for the characters, get a feel for the characters, and want to meet them more. So it was a very nice novella, and I am devouring the Alpha and Omega series and the Mercy Thompson series. The last book that I read digitally was The Most Eligible Viscount in London. So Most Eligible Viscount in London is a historical romance, and as I said, love historical romances. What I enjoyed about this one, though, is we do not start off with the courting. At the point where this book starts off, the courting has already happened, and our main male character is proposing to our heroine. And she is like, sir, you've basically just read me your resume and you think that that's a good enough reason to marry you. No, I want a love match. Are you in love with me? And of course, shenanigans. Because this guy is like, nope, my father was in love with my mother. That ended poorly. So as such, can never fall in love with my wife. Bad idea. Shenanigans. All of that ensues. So I thoroughly enjoyed that we started out with them already in an established relationship. And so then we have to kind of form and watch this established relationship grow to see if the two of them can strike a love match. So great series, enjoyed it. I think it's like a volume 2 maybe. So I need to go back and read, but you know how historical romances are. They all technically stand alone. So it wasn't a problem at all. So that's all I read digitally. That was a lot digitally. I enjoyed it, but I also read some physical copies. So first up, the B2 Weirdos, we did 2 tours in the month of March. And our first tour, we did Escaping Exodus Symbiosis. So I read both Escaping Exodus and Escaping Exodus Symbiosis because Symbiosis is the sequel. So first we read Escaping Exodus, and I can link up to my review video here. And then we read Escaping Exodus Symbiosis, book number 2, and I can link up to that review here. Thoroughly enjoyed both of those books. The other book that we read for tours was Machinehood by S.B. Divya. I cannot tout the praises of Machinehood enough. I will link to my review video up here. Thoroughly enjoyed it. If you are on the fence of whether or not you like sci-fi, read this book and it will just hurl you right over that fence, or right over that line. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wish more sci-fi was like this. And of course, it wouldn't be me if I did not read more manga. So I read Perfect World Volume 3, Perfect World Volume 4, and I believe Volume 5 just came out recently, so I need to get it. But at the time that I finished reading this, I was all caught up. I'm enjoying Perfect World. Perfect World 4 kind of ended in a place that I was like, oh, my heart, I don't know if I can take it. Oh, I don't know if my Southern heart can take it. But I cannot wait for Volume 5. I'm interested to see how this goes because we're dealing with a differently abled person and an able-bodied person, and just trying to see if that relationship can work and how it can work and if they can make it through. And so they have run into some issues that are starting to define their relationship, and it's going to define whether or not they can actually get through these problems together and stay together, or whether or not they're going to have to break up. So we're really at a pretty pivotal moment in their relationship, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I also read Something's Wrong with Us, Volume 4. So Something's Wrong with Us is an interesting series. It's, one of those like payback sort of situations where she's trying to get revenge for something that happened to her in her childhood that he caused. But there seems to be a lot of like underlying issues, and so I cannot wait to start to get some of that sussed out, because there's been like 2 attempts on her life. So I really want to see where this is headed and where we're going with this, because it seems like there's a lot to hide, and I'm not quite sure who all is hiding something. I also picked up Yonah of the Dawn, or read. This is not a haul video. I also read Yonah of the Dawn, Volume 2, and Yonah of the Dawn, Volume 3. I am so ready to share my first impression video with you all. That is coming soon, because Yonah is amazing. It is such a good series. It is so well done. There's so many different character personalities, and yet they all mesh and like have their own distinct interactions with each other, and it just works out perfectly. So I will be sharing that with you all soon, so be on the lookout for that. I also started what I hope is a series you all will love, where I am rereading some of my favorites and kind of seeing if I still love them the same way that I did before. And so for that first one, I started 10 Count again. So I read 10 Count Volume 1. 10 Count is a BL. It gets a little explicit along the way, but 10 Count is a BL, where we have our main character, Cheryl Tiny, who suffers from OCD and germophobia. And he has met this therapist, Kurose, and Kurose has agreed to try and kind of help him manage/cure his OCD and germophobia. After that, I read Finder, Volume 7, which is a Thickums, Volume 8, and Volume 9, which at the time I finished. The only thing that was left was Volume 10, which I picked up recently. And so Volume 9 kind of ends at a little bit of a cliffhanger. Our guys have technically been kidnapped/crashed, so we'll see how that goes. Finder is one of those series that, like, now that the switch has happened from like no consent to enthusiastic consent, it's more palatable. But the change, I don't know if it happened as well as it could have. And it's just one of those series that when I first started it, getting to like volume 4 or 5, I was like, oh, I really don't know if I can continue this series. Now I'm like, okay, I mean, I can get jiggy with it. I can keep reading. It's not the best thing. It's not my favorite thing in the entire world. It's not the best thing in the world. And I think it's one of those series that if you read it when it was first coming out, I think there's more of a nostalgia there for those. But it is definitely one of the ones that are on my, I guess I could recommend it, but I wouldn't really recommend it if it is like, if you are one of those people who have problems with no consent and dubious consent, it's not for you, because like the first 5 volumes of it, just a litany of no consent everywhere, and it's just not the best. However, now that I've pushed past all of that, it's getting better. The relationship is getting more of like a mutual, they actually want to be together, but then that brings into the question of, does he actually want to be with him, or is this Stockholm syndrome and like training and coaching? But you know what? We're not going to go that far. If you like Finder, look, I'm gonna keep reading it. I just bought volume 10, so we're kind of invested at this point. But I don't know if it's necessarily something that I would recommend for everyone, and it's definitely not something I would recommend if you are dabbling in BL or are not a hardcore BL fan. The last couple of volumes that I read is I finished up to date on LDK. So I read volume 12. Volume 13, which I love the cover of, look at the little rubber duckies. Volume 14. And volume 15. So I am all caught up. Volume 16 comes out later this year. This series is adorable. It's still adorable. Thoroughly enjoying it. It is older teen. We haven't really gotten much smut because, you know, they are in high school. So like we can save the smut for graduation, which has come up in the series because her dad has found out that they're living together. So he like put a banner in their apartment that says no intercourse until after graduation, which of course you've got two hormonal teenagers living in a room. So that's caused some shenanigans and hijinks. So I've definitely been enjoying that. Series that I will continue to pick up. I'm definitely going to get volume 16 when it comes out. Near and dear to my heart. Very excited for that. So that is all of the books that I read in the month of March. There were a lot of digital works. I didn't really realize it as I was churning through them. I find it easier for me to read digitally. It's quicker for me to just bap on my Kindle Paperwhite than it is flipping through the pages for me for some reason. But I enjoyed it. Had a great time, and I hope you all enjoyed seeing what I read in the month of March. Let me know down in the comments, what is a world you would never want to live in? Like, what is a world that they could not pay you to live in? Like Attack on Titan, there is not enough money in the world for you to pay me to live in the Attack on Titan universe. Would never do it. So let me know in the comments, what is a world that you would never, ever, ever, ever want to live in? Make sure that you like, subscribe, hit your notification bell, all the standard YouTube things, and Haley Jane and I will see you next time. Bye.